Now, after only one school year, some are challenging the concept of the Educational Achievement Authority.
24-hour News 8 political reporter Rick Albin's been digging into this one for weeks now, and Rick joins us with what he's uncovered.
Well, I can tell you there is a lot of political activity around this. It depends on your point of view. A way to revolutionize education for students in low-performing schools, or a secretive plan to undermine Michigan's public school system. Seems everyone has an opinion when it comes to the EAA. According to one of the sponsors of legislation pending in the Senate, the idea of the EAA came about when the federal government's Race to the Top program required participating states to identify and come up with a plan for their bottom-performing schools. Rich Baird, a longtime confidant of Governor Rick Snyder and part of the brain trust that came up with the EAA, says the idea was to focus on what he calls student-centered learning.
A process of education for students that is based on the way young people learn, not the pedagogy of how teachers teach.
But what they got instead, according to State Representative and EAA critic Ellen Kogan-Lipton, was something else.
It's a flawed model for addressing challenged schools.
The argument over EAA has been brewing for a while. From performance to financing, Kogan-Lipton says there is no evidence the schools are doing as well as some suggest. In fact, looking through hundreds of pages of information she got through the Freedom of Information Act, she found something quite different.
When I started reviewing the documents, I started having a clear picture that the financial situation of EAA is not exactly what they were saying. The finances are not stable. In fact, in order to make payroll at one point, they had to take out a loan from DPS.
A loan that supporters say went through DPS, not from the district's operating capital, and is not all that unusual for what Baird calls a startup operation.
Like any startup, you hope that you're going to raise all the money that you need, and we didn't raise all the money that we need.
Since then, the EAA says it's nearly 60% of the way to its fundraising goal of $100 million. But money may not be the biggest obstacle for the fledgling education plan. Some opponents say the program just doesn't work.
And a lot of promises were made. I hear stories all the time from families that said, you know, we were promised something better. And what they've gotten, and this is from the mouths of the kids, I'm not making this up, is much worse.
Those who support the plan say the reason for all of the concern is age-old.
My opinion is that change is always very, very difficult.
Legislation would make EAA more formal government entity is pending in the Senate, and tonight at 6. What would that legislation do? Can it pass the upper chamber? And what do opponents really think the problem is with EAA? Brian?
Thank you, Rick.